to this installment of HNN Overtime, the Hawaii News Now Sports Podcast. I am Kyle Chinen, resident sports reporter, joined as always by the one and only Davis Pitner.
We are back again.
We are back in studio, and we have another special guest.
That's right, Kyle. We have a really special guest, another UH favorite, fan favorite, Scotty Scott.
Scotty Scott of UH baseball fame, the outfielder, part owner of the Manoa Electric Company, as they're called.
That's right.
They are amazing kid, amazing guy, awesome talk story with him. There was a lot to talk about too.
There was a lot to talk about, and we got an inside look on what brought him into baseball, what brought him into Hawaii, and what led him through his career. Right. And especially, recently too, him going through so many injuries and having to make that tough decision to step away from baseball.
Yep. And what's next for him? We got to dive into what's next for Coach Scott. Scotty Scott, and just a whole lot of fun in between. Talk about his favorite foods, talk about Walkup songs. That's a big thing in baseball nowadays, is their Walkup songs. But without further ado, we don't want to take any more time. We need to get to it. Let's get to it. Let's take you to that interview right now. All right, everyone, we are joined by the one, the only Scotty Scott of UH baseball.
Round of applause.
Number one on the field.
I feel like we need his song going on right now.
I know. I don't know what the rules are as far as copyright. I don't know if we could do that or not, but
it's the last thing we need is a copyright.
Exactly. Thank you so much for joining us, man. Appreciate you coming down to the station. First question is, Let's kind of rewind the tape a little bit, back to 2018, high school ball player from Texas. What was the journey like to get you to commit to UH the first time around and to, make it out to the islands from Texas?
Yeah, I feel like I had a unique amateur baseball experience. I played on such good teams growing up. I wasn't that big fish in a little pond. I was a little fish in a big pond with a whole bunch of big fish around me. So, I always had those recruiting opportunities. There were schools and pro scouts at every single game. But I guess the spotlight, was never on myself, so it took a lot of, I was the undersized guy that had to do a lot of emailing, a lot of showcases. And, I had some opportunities elsewhere, kind of across the country, some of some of the bigger Texas schools, to go walk on, or, it was, hey, why don't you go to junior college for a year and get big, get in the weight room, and then, come play for us as a sophomore. Or you could redshirt, and I wasn't too interested in that. So, when I got in communications with the staff at Hawaii, eventually at the end of the day, it was like I couldn't grow up and have a family and tell my family, hey, son, I could have played at the University of Hawaii for 4 years. So, that I made my decision to come here, and it was the best decision in my life.
Kind of going, even more into the past, why baseball? What kind of, why did you start this?
Yeah, my dad played baseball, and his dad played baseball after my dad started to get into playing baseball. So, it was this short line of the family tree of baseball. My dad always told me, he said, you don't have to play baseball. I'm not making you play. But if you are going to play, you're going to get everything you have, because I'll give you everything I have into it, time commitment, financially, all that stuff. My grandfather actually passed away playing baseball, had a heart attack, which was not baseball related, but during a men's league game, was feeling ill, went to his car to kind of cool off, I guess you could say, and, his teammates never heard from him.
Oh, my gosh.
So I have, his jersey always hung above my bed. In commemoration of him. I wore number 32. That was his number my whole life, the jersey that hung above my room. And is actually why I wear number 1, because the 32 jerseys are like a triple XL. So I took 3 minus 2 and made it 1.
There you go.
So that's why I wear number 1.
That's so cool.
In honor of my grandfather. And so, it's something that I grew up with. I had a wiffle ball bat in my hand at probably 18 months.
Wow, that's
so
such
cool.
a crazy story. I had no idea that wasn't on our cheat sheet. But your freshman year, and you kind of hit the ground running, right? Freshman All-American, freshman Big West freshman Field Player of the Year. How did that come about, and what was the mentality? You talk about being that, putting out your own tape and emailing coaches. Talk about that grind mentality that you were able to get, these kind of accolades your first year collegiately.
Yeah, I felt like, I always had to prove myself and, fight for my spot. And so it was just kind of going out there and, from day one stepping on campus, I knew I was playing with grown men. There's 23-year-old men on the team, and I'm a, really small, undersized. I don't have a muscle in my body, never lifted a weight, So it was, I don't want to say intimidating because I, don't feel like I was ever intimidated. But, it was definitely like, all right, I got my work cut out for me. But at the same time, I didn't fly 4,000 miles to sit on the bench. So I'm going to, give it everything I have for myself, for my career at first. And then once I really started to get into Hawaii and the culture, it was like, oh, my goodness, I'm playing for something so much greater than, just myself. And that made it that extra motivation just to go out and ball out,
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Obviously, Texas to Hawaii is a big shift, a big culture shift. What was that like for you? Did it take time to adapt to the culture here?
Yeah, I loved it. Kind of coming in, I tried to just not have that stubborn mindset. It was like I knew nothing about Hawaii, absolutely nothing. I knew that there are pineapples and there's beautiful beaches and there's probably a mountain somewhere.
That's all true.
And maybe even a volcano. I was right on all those. I thought there was monkeys here. There's not. I learned quickly that there was not monkeys here. Actually, on the plane ride over. But yeah, like I said, I didn't know anything about Hawaii coming in, so I just tried to have a really open mind, and I wanted to learn what the Aloha culture was. They told me it was more than just a word, and now I understand that that's true.
Yep.
Along with some other things I've learned along the way.
And just kind of talk about you quickly became a fan favorite, and just to see that response, to see those kids, at the last, pressed up against the net, asking for your autograph after the game, yelling your name when you're at bat and things like that, the crowd going wild. Talk about just kind of the fan reception and the UH baseball fans that have kind of followed your career here in at Manoa and, going into the future, and how they've kind of affected you.
How much time do we have?
No,
I'm kidding.
This is overtime. We have
awesome.
Hence the name.
Yeah, I mean, I could go all day just thanking the fans. How it's molded me. It's definitely, made me mature and grow some responsibility quicker. I realize that every action I make, of course, on the field, right, especially with Spectrum Sports, they have so many cameras and such. Yep. Everyone's always watching. One of the things I think about is, there's probably one kid at that game that day that's never watched a baseball game before. So I come to the field every day, whether I'm sore, tired, whatnot. I want to be his favorite player. I want to make an impact on him and make him love baseball just to some degree that I love baseball. And, maybe he'll come back. Or her, him or her,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that runs through my mind, Another thing is, like I said, that's on the field. Off the field, right, once I started to get some of that attention on the field, I felt like, now my actions affect our community. Once, I'm a fan favorite, now I'm representing a whole community. And so, I had to mature off the field pretty quickly as well, and, kind of get my stuff together to, make sure, I didn't disappoint such an awesome fan base.
Yeah.
Being football players, we have to look into these statistics. Okay, hit by pitch. What does that even mean? Because I was looking at your stats. Sophomore season, ranked 4th all-time in school history for hit by pitch in a season. Ranked 5th all-time in school history for career hit by pitches. What does that even mean?
I think that was after my sophomore year.
Yeah.
5th all-time. I'm actually 2nd all-time now. So,
After the junior.
Okay.
All right.
Right.
But no, because I counted all season. Because
Oh,
I was waiting for that one
Right.
ball. Like
Yeah.
I did it, career record holder, but I didn't get it.
Hold
Okay.
on. Was that? I think that was the last series of the season at the Les,
Uh-huh.
and I was there. I saw you get hit, And then I've never seen you react. Like, you reacted like you were like fist pump in the air as you're getting the first. Was that the reaction?
Well, I didn't know.
The premature reaction.
No, so I knew that I was 2 away from that point.
Mm-hmm.
That was, we're down. That emotion was we're down 2 in the series.
Right.
And it was a 0-0 game in the second, and I get hit to go up 1-0 on senior night.
Yep.
That was the emotion.
Right.
What I didn't know was that put me second on the all-time list. I didn't know that until after the game.
Oh, okay.
But to answer your question, hit by pitch, you're in there and it is what it like. You're in there hitting and you get smoked by a pitch, and some hurt worse than others. I have my first ever and first only concussion on a hit by pitch. 2020 season, Washington State, a 91 miles an hour fastball to the head to lead off the game. That caused me to miss my two only games my sophomore year. But I mean, it's one of those things where it's a selfless action, and it's selfless, but at the same time it's selfish. If that ball's coming at you, you get on base 1,000, 100% of the time. It's an 1,000 on base percentage every time you get hit. Whereas if you move and then you swing, you don't have that 1,000. So I just love getting on base. That was me. My job was to get on base and try to score runs. So if you're going to throw it at me and make it easy, let's do it.
Your on-base percentage numbers and just kind of playing through an injury, halfway through the year you had a brace on. I mean, kind of an unfortunate nickname, by the way, by UH Baseball Twitter.
What was that,
Robo Chicken or something at first, and then they changed it to Robo
Eric.
Bird. I know. We know who runs that. We know who runs that account. We won't say his name yet, but yeah, Robo Chicken. I was like, what is that? But talk about being that selfless player, just making sure you're on base, putting your team into these positions, and also kind of playing through and fighting through these injuries.
Yeah. The team was kind of put on my back, voluntarily, and being one of the oldest, longest, most experienced returners coming back, it's kind of me and a couple other guys' team coming in to guide this team to a championship. And I mean, that was my job. It wasn't, if I could be on the field and help the team win, it was going to happen. I don't care, if it was the broken hand, the sprained wrist, the elbow that didn't exist anymore. I was going to be in there for my teammates because I remember the fall and I remember all the weight rooms, and, someone had always gone through something. Everybody goes through something, whether it's, their girlfriend breaking up with them, or, they've got an injury of their own, or their grandpa passes away, someone's always got something to deal with. Mine was physical, and, we were all expected to show up and perform, and fight towards that championship season. And I would have been taking the easy way out to, repair my elbow in the middle of the year and call it a season and say, see you next year, I did everything I could to, doctor told me to rest for a few weeks. I rested for 2. I said, give me that brace and let's go. Did my stats suffer because of it? Maybe. But, it wasn't about the stats. It was about my teammates.
Let's go a little bit back in time to the conversation about the transfer portal. You had the chance to go back home, but you decided to stay here. Kind of, what were the conversations like? Why did you make that decision?
Yeah, entering the transfer portal was a career decision for 2 reasons. I wanted to go to the College World Series, and I wanted to go to the Major League Draft. Those are the 2 things. Coming into college, I wanted to play professional baseball, but in order to do that, you had to go somewhere where you can play. That's why I didn't want to go to one of those Power 5 schools, sit on the bench, and hopefully play my junior year, right? So I came to Hawaii, and Hawaii gave me so much more than that, and I'm very grateful for everything Hawaii gave me. But with the coaching situation we had, the seasons we had been having, with all the talent we had talented teams. Teams where 1 through 6 are over 300, and, teams that guys got drafted on. We weren't winning ball games, so I wanted to go to a place where we can win. I felt like I could get drafted. And when the coaching transition happened and Coach Hill came back, Coach Hill, gave me that feeling of, hey, we can go to a regional, we can go to the College World Series, and, I'll put you in a good situation to where, let's learn and work, and, to where you can get drafted. And, should some of the different stuff happen this season with an injury, the draft could have been a possibility. And, a game or 2 there, we might still be playing. and had that shot for a regional. So, I'm definitely happy with coming back to Hawaii. I mean, oh my goodness, it gave me so much more than just that experience that I was looking for in the transfer portal. But yeah, I mean, I loved Hawaii the whole time. And, I wanted a reason to stay, and Coach Hill gave me that reason to stay.
And you talk about Coach Hill and just kind of I mean, you guys in our couple last media scrums, Coach Hill called it like a semi-miraculous turnaround, or, you know how he is with his words and things like that, right?
He's very articulate.
He's very articulate.
Speaking,
Whether he's doing his Zooms from the car at North Shore with his board in the background, or, but
and he actually surfs. I said, hey, Coach, what's a big wave? And he's like, if it's not very rough, 25. If it's rough, 20. And I'm like, oh, Coach.
Yeah.
Oh, my
He
goodness.
goes.
Oh, my God.
Just talk about what Coach Hill has brought to this team. And, this last season, you guys were, a couple games away from getting that number one spot in the Big West to get to a regional. We'll get into that with the Big West, how that's situated. I know that's been a hot topic this past season for you guys and softball. But, just talk about Coach Hill and what he's brought to this team and what he's going to do going forward with this program.
Yeah, one thing Coach Hill, has taught me in my personal life, as well as preaches to the team. He preached it to the team, and I've, brought it to my personal life, is one thing we're not going to do is we're not going to build a fence around what we can accomplish. You can come out here and, it's very easy to say, Hawaii can't host a regional because of this, or Hawaii hasn't done this, But I think we kind of, turned it around in one season. And really, if you look at it, we turned it around in half a season. Because the first half of the season, we played Vanderbilt. They were ranked number 5 in the country. And with no disrespect to them, they didn't end up being all that great. There was games and situations where we had an opportunity to take 3 of those 4 games. Same with the Rutgers series, who ended up being a very good team, who, by the way, got screwed in the RPI, which I'm sure we'll talk about eventually.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we had an unfortunate first half of the season. We really turned around the second half. And I think that's just a glimpse of the culture that Coach Hill was able to, implement in less than a year. And just, I mean, it excites me because I'm going to stay around the program and, forever, through his career and then whoever's the next is. But it should excite everybody, what he's able to do, what he's brought in to this program with the energy, the culture. And, I'd be very surprised if we don't see a hashtag Bomaha in the next 5 years. I mean, I want to say 3.
It's pretty good.
I want to say 3. But, 5 years, book it. It happened right here in overtime in the next 5 years.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm going to save this
We're
clip.
going to save this.
It's going to happen.
Hashtag Bomaha. Coach Hill's talked about it at length, and I'm sure you have your opinions about it. Not having a postseason tournament at the end of the year, what are your opinions on that? And do you think it's time the Big West should implement this to their diamond sports?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, to sit here and try to rationalize it. I don't think, whoever makes those decisions can sit here and rationalize it, and that's why they don't. You call the Big West front office, and they're going to beat you around in bushes probably trying to figure it out. Every single conference in the country for baseball has a conference tournament championship, and softball as well. You look at the basketball sports, Big West has a tournament. In a very similar format where basketball uses the RPI. They bring 64 to March Madness. It's the same setup as college baseball with the exception of double elimination, the regional, the whole deal. But there's 64 teams in an RPI.
Right.
That's how it's determined. The conference winner goes. For the Big West to be so stubborn, and that's a nice way of putting it, and not having a tournament is it's laughable. I'm so glad that the Big West is still a strong baseball conference, even though recruits know coming in that you pretty much got to win the thing to get in. It's a shame. Santa Barbara had a great year, and they deserved every single bit of that number 1 spot.
Right.
But, the way us and Cal – I mean, I'll give Cal Poly credit, too. The way we were both playing at the end, you run up Koali'i Pontez, Andy Archer, the way Cade Halamanu finished the season, Buddy Pindell – you run up those guys, or even, you want to talk about Cal Poly, they finished second. Drew Thorpe. You run up Drew Thorpe, on a Friday night in a conference championship setting. against Santa Barbara, against us against Santa Barbara, it's a coin flip who gets into that tournament, and it's whoever plays best on that day in that championship environment.
Right.
That's the competition in a championship environment is different. It brings a different breed out of you to go to the regional rather than, it's almost a punishment what some teams go through throughout the season and 40-something games to go to the postseason rather than that championship competitiveness. I could go on all day about this, but
I got you.
It's unfair
totally.
to say the least.
Yeah.
It's laughable.
Yeah.
It's disgraceful to the players.
Talk about the new guys that came in, the Coles, the Donahues,
Yeah.
and then just this is kind of the team that you guys have built this season to be able to make this this run, and then just talk about just those days in the locker room and just being with the boys, and maybe something you're gonna miss about being
inside
in the
look,
locker room.
inside look that are
inside baseball.
you as fans may not know about.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to think of all our new guys that we had, and you look at our lineup. It was new guys that did not play in 2021. I mean, the three most recognizable faces were, myself, and then Uji Mori and Stone. But you think about them, and 2020 season was their first year, and it was COVID.
Right.
And then Jacob Igawa kind of had that. Is he a DH? Is he an left fielder? Is he a catcher? Is he a first baseman role in 2020?
Right.
COVID year, first year. And, he played this year. Other than that, it was transfer guys. Matt Wong missed a whole season due to an ACL.
Yeah.
Dallas Duarte missed the whole 2020 season because of a labrum. And then it was Kyson Donahue. And then it was Jordan Donahue. And then it was Cole Cabrera. So our lineup, I mean, other than myself, was really new to Hawaii for the most part. And it's all coming back. All these guys are my brothers, and I tell them that I grew up with two younger sisters, and I don't know what it's like to have brothers. So I call them my Bow Warriors because I don't know what it's like to have brothers. So I was like, oh, you guys are different. You guys are my Bow Warriors. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna stick with those guys, till the day we all die. I hope.
I kind of have a sense of what you're going through a little bit. I tore my knee in high school, all the ligaments. Went into college, tore my knee again, and then kind of said, that's kind of it for me. I can't do anymore. What is there a sense of disappointment, or are you looking to the future? As coaching, you stepping away from baseball a little bit, from playing.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the option for me to come back is still on the table. So, I really don't feel any negative emotions. It was the two times I got really upset were. Or I wouldn't say upset, emotional, because they weren't negative. I just cried.
Right.
I lined out my last at bat, running off the field. I got a standing ovation. That was awesome. Thank you, Hawaii, by the way, because I will never forget that.
Right.
Everybody gave me a hug in the dugout. Everybody kind of knew what was going on. And then, the senior night ceremony, and then as soon as the last out ended, we had our team meeting. Coach Hill all gave us a chance to talk, and then from that moment, for the next 2 hours of senior night, was pretty emotional.
Right.
Other than that, I've been doing pretty well.
Nice.
I started coaching immediately. Took a couple days off to go to California and just kind of reset in that Central Coast area, and then I flew to Arizona to coach. And it might sound weird, and it might not make sense to most people, but I feel the same exact competitiveness when I'm on the field coaching as when I play. And I think that is a really, that's why this decision is easier to me than I thought it would be, to be completely honest with you. But I still feel that same competitive nature. I don't feel the difference other than having to take that at bat as a player, as a coach. There's some things that are different, like, you show up to the field and read the practice plan. Well, now I'm showing up to the field with a practice plan in my hand. That's kind of different.
Right.
I'm a little more in depth with the recruiting side of things, roster building, stuff like that. So that's different. I'm learning. I don't know much, and I love to learn. But, man, when it comes to that competitiveness of what made me a good player, because I wasn't the most talented or biggest or strongest or fastest, that competitiveness is what brought it out of me. I still feel that coaching. I still have that energy, and thank you to Coach Hill and Coach Mike Brown for, teaching me some of that stuff along the way. But that's kind of where I'm at.
And this isn't technically your first foray into coaching. You kind of dabbled into the youth baseball scene here in Hawaii. Talk about your experience with the Pono baseball boys, and then just your love for giving back to this community and just coaching them up.
Yeah, I mean, I was with them this morning. I went home and showered, and I've got to change the clothes in my car to go right back. So I love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you, Pono. Thank you, Jerry Clayman, for taking me in and, kind of, showing me the coaching ropes. Kind of like I said, I got really involved. I was a little involved with them my freshman year, but it was tough during the spring.
Right.
Fall of 2020, and then COVID hit, boom. I get Tommy John surgery for the first time on my right arm. All my friends leave the island. COVID shutdown, lockdown. You can't even go to the beach.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Right? It was private lessons in the backyard.
Right.
It was speed and conditioning lessons. And that's kind of how I started. And then, we started building teams when Corp opened back up. We hosted a tournament. And that's when I got that first sense of, okay, I want to be a professional baseball player. I want to be a Major League All-Star. But if it doesn't work out, I love coaching just as much.
Right.
So that made it easy for me. And, I haven't stepped away from Pono since. And, obviously I'll be having a lesser role with Pono once I leave Island to go to Cuesta College in the junior college role. But I'll still be very involved. I'll still come back in the summers. Winter break, I'll be traveling, hopefully even Thanksgiving break, Labor Day weekend. I mean, I love the kids. They're like, it's the best to see these lives transform, and it's not just the baseball. It's not just, 12-year-old swings getting better. It's 12-year-old lives changing.
Let's kind of get to know the real Scotty Scott, get to the meat of it. Your go-to local foods. This is the burning question. Forget everything else we asked you. This is what we need to know.
I've seen the volleyball player. He's a poke guy. I haven't wrapped my head around poke. I've tried. I've never been able to do the raw fish.
That's fair. It's not for everyone.
True.
It's not. Plate lunch. I mean, it's my favorite is the Elite Eat plate from Fat Boys. Ooh, it's the terry beef.
Yep.
I think it's the terry chicken. There's a fish in there, and then there's one other thing. But I mean talk about Ono grinds.
Yep.
Yeah, Fat Boys. I'm all over it.
See, I'm amazed by we had Yakupon talks about eating all this poke, and then you have the biggest plate lunch ever, and you guys still look amazing. And the minute I eat a mini plate lunch from Zippy's, I have to hit the treadmill because I feel
dude, same.
Oh my goodness, it's not fair. It's not fair.
I'm
for
lucky.
Us big boys.
I'm lucky that there's not a Fat Boys anywhere close to town. Because if there was, I might be a Fat Boy.
Right.
Dude, we asked Jakob too, and I got to know. Speakingpidgin.
Yeah.
Have you started doing that? Are there teammates on? Kind of tell us.
There's a whole bunch of different very loose nicknames guys have given me. And there's a song from Kauai called Vanilla Local. They messed with that one a little bit. One of the Big Island boys called me Kanaka Howley. I'm not gonna get on air and do the pigeon deal. But I will say, whenever I find myself around, especially when I'm coaching, and or even in the locker room when it's only Hawaiian guys, I will naturally do it. I've kind of always been that way, being from South Texas, there's some Spanglish in there too. Anytime I'm around a super Hispanic crowd, and it's just me trying to subconsciously fit in, I guess. So, the kind, I can break it out.
There we go. He's got it.
There it is. There it is.
That's what I'm saying.
My vocabulary is growing. So, yeah, every once in a while, it'll come out when I say, even when I'm coaching, if I start yelling sometimes, I'll say something in Pidgin, and then all the kids will start laughing, and then I just can't help but laugh too. Because it's okay, you're right. That was probably pretty funny.
Another burning question. Walkup song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
take us through it. There was also a poll. What all happened?
Yeah, so I wanted, growing up, my dad was like always, he was super hard on me. The walk-up's not about you, it's about the fans, you know.
Right.
A whole bunch of parents don't want to hear that rap song. And so I had to have a country song in high school, for my dad in the stands.
Right.
And when I came out here, I had a nice little saxophone deal that I really liked my freshman, sophomore year. And then last year it was kind of like a house song, Thief.
Right.
Shout out to my boy Elijah McNamee, Big Hit Mac from Mississippi State. He's my boy from back home, and it was his walk-up when he had that great season when Mississippi State won it all. So I used it, and then this year I was like, all right, I'm going to give it to the fans, We had the hashtag party at the Les going. The shirts made, the whole deal. And
get me one.
Yeah, you still gotta get you Barstool Bows.
Yeah, I know.
That's my advertising right there. Barstool Bows party at the last shirt.
There we go.
Get it.
I like it.
Yeah. So I had some party songs in there. I had a couple EDM songs, couple popular rap songs. Time Today was a big one. Super Gremlin was a big one. I had my walk up last year in there. Thief by OK. But I kind of knew that Grove Street Party was gonna win.
Right.
I was kind of cheering for it to win.
Yep.
There we go.
And I just had it in the back of my head. What's it gonna look like on Friday night opening day against Washington State Cougars, and the lights are on, and there's a sold out crowd, and it's a party. And I was like, all right, that gives me chicken skin. It still does.
Yep.
I haven't listened to it since the season ended.
Really?
I can't. That song, and then the song we listened to on the bus after every game, Dixieland Delight.
Okay.
Alabama has their own little version.
Right.
We totally remixed it and made it a Hawaii baseball version.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
We say go Bows, and then we say jump China walls, and the whole deal. It's totally Hawaii Dixieland Delight. But when I'm listening to country music and that song pops on, we got a little fire alarm.
Oh.
It's okay. I think it's a test.
I hope it's a test.
All right.
Well, we're soundproofed.
We started talking about Grove Street Party and the fire started.
I know.
There we go.
There's too much flames coming out the mic. Who had the best walk-up song this year? Pitchers included, because when they have music playing during warm-ups.
Man, okay.
I'll
give you a pitcher and a hitter.
Okay. Yeah, fair.
There we go.
Fair.
Can I also give you worst walk-up song?
Yes.
Yeah.
Andy Archer, the Justin Bieber song he used, One Less Lonely Girl. That was a terrible stunt.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, I wish you didn't remember it. But Andy's going to hear this, and he's going to love it. So, shout out to Andy.
Wow, shout out to Andy.
You're one of my best friends, but the JB walk-up.
Ouch.
Anyways.
Ouch.
No, I love him. So, one thing, the pitcher, best walk-up, Coley Pontes, Hotel Room Service by Pitbull.
There we
I
go.
like that. Yeah.
There it is.
Hitter, I'm a Jordan Donahue, Make It Rain, Lil Wayne.
Okay.
That was awesome. That fired me up. And I'm pretty sure it's called Make It Rain. It was a Lil Wayne song.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was called Make It Rain. Old Carter album.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, old school Lil Wayne. I'm all about it.
Just kind of talk about your next journey in coaching over in California. Tell us where you're gonna go. What kind of what capacity? If you have a title, just kind of talk about your next journey as Scotty Scott.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta just say unlimited thank yous to Coach Hill for setting this opportunity up. Kind of being the guy he is, always thinking of others. When we had that conversation of I probably won't be returning next year because of my injury and everything else that's going on. He asked me what my plans were, and I was like, well, probably stay here for another year, coach with Pono, and give me some time to figure it out. Mm-hmm. Apply for jobs here and there. I thought about going the media route, being a communication major. And he goes, well, isn't your girlfriend still at Cal Poly? And I was like, yeah. What's her plans? Well, she's getting a master's. Mm-hmm. Well, would you want to go live in SLO? And I was like, it's an odd question. I was like, I didn't plan on it, but maybe, I figured I'd stay in Hawaii for another year. And he's like, well, how about, the assistant coaching job at Cuesta, which is in San Luis Obispo. And he said, he knows Coach Miller, and Coach Miller's been there for over 20 years. And he's a great coach. He won Coach of the Year for that region, this year. And I'm really so excited. I got in touch with him. He said they're looking for somebody to help out, in that assistant coaching position. So, I'm really excited to learn from Coach Miller. He's a, seasoned coach in the junior college world, connections all over the country when it comes to coaching. So, hopefully I'm there for, as many years as it, takes me to develop as a coach and, hopefully, then move along in the coaching world, whether, I could speculate a million different directions and where that leads, but hopefully somewhere where the path, leads me into the SEC back towards home, a big school in Texas,
right.
and then, eventually, University of Hawaii.
Thank you so much.
You guys. It was fun
for joining us. Come back anytime whenever you're free if you want to.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Always open.
Always open.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Alrighty, guys.
Appreciate it, Scotty.
That has been another episode of HNN Overtime. To listen to this podcast, you can head to Spotify or wherever you get your Hawaii News Now podcast. And to watch, you can head to our YouTube channel. Aloha.